Most people at Turner Ranch never asked Naya where she came from. The truth was, they didn't care. To them, she was simply the Apache girl who worked for food. Nothing more. The ranch stood at the edge of Colorado Territory, surrounded by rolling grasslands and distant mountains that turned purple beneath the evening sky. Life there was demanding. Every bucket of water had to be carried. Every fence post had to be repaired. Every animal required attention. Nobody earned an easy living. Least of all Naya. She arrived during the previous winter. Alone. Hungry. Exhausted. Snow still covered patches of ground when she walked onto the property. Her boots were worn thin. Her coat had seen better years. She carried only a small bedroll and a silver bracelet wrapped around her wrist. When Ethan Turner asked what she wanted, her answer surprised him. Not money. Not charity. Not sympathy. Just 3 words. Food for work. The ranch owner studied her for several seconds. Most drifters ask for handouts. This girl offered labor. That difference mattered. So Ethan gave her a chance. Not everyone agreed with the decision. A ranch hand named Cole complained openly. We don't need another mouth to feed. Others nodded. A few believed she would disappear within days. Many assumed she wasn't strong enough for ranch work. Naya never argued with any of them. She simply went to work. Before sunrise, she cleaned stalls. After breakfast, she hauled water. By midday, she repaired fences alongside workers twice her size. In the evening, she helped prepare meals. Long after others went to sleep, she finished whatever tasks remained. Day after day. Week after week. The criticism slowly lost its strength. Not because people became kinder. Because Naya refused to give them a reason to complain. Even then, acceptance came slowly. Some workers still kept their distance. Others spoke about her rather than to her. The frontier could be harsh. Trust arrived late. Sometimes it never arrived at all. Ethan noticed those things. The ranch owner wasn't a man who talked much. Years of hard work had worn away any desire for unnecessary conversation. Yet he watched people carefully. And what he saw puzzled him. Most newcomers tried to impress others. Naya never did. Most newcomers defended themselves when challenged. She didn't. Most people carried bitterness after being treated poorly. She carried patience. The difference stayed with him. One evening, while workers gathered near the bunkhouse, Ethan spotted Naya repairing a broken gate by herself. The sun had already disappeared behind the mountains. Most people would have left the task until morning. Naya continued working. The ranch owner approached quietly. You know that can wait. She glanced up. Then smiled faintly. If I finish now, the cattle won't find a way through tonight. Ethan looked at the damaged hinge. Then at the young woman. The answer made sense. Simple. Practical. Without another word, he helped hold the gate steady while she finished the repair. Neither mentioned it afterward. But the moment lingered. Respect often grows from small things. Not grand gestures. Not speeches. Just actions. As spring gave way to summer, Naya became part of the ranch. Not fully. Not yet. But enough. People stopped questioning whether she could work. Instead, they wondered how someone so young had learned so much. She understood animals unusually well. Horses that resisted others often remained calm around her. She noticed changes in weather before clouds appeared. More than once, she warned workers about loose cattle before anyone else realized something was wrong. Whenever people asked where she learned those skills, her answer remained the same. I don't know. And she meant it. Many memories from her childhood remained beyond reach. Fragments surfaced occasionally. A river. A campfire. Voices speaking in the distance. Then nothing. Only the bracelet remained constant. The silver band never left her wrist. Its surface carried symbols nobody at Turner Ranch recognized. When Ethan asked about it one afternoon, Naya turned the bracelet slowly between her fingers. "I think it belonged to my family." The uncertainty in her voice felt genuine. Not mysterious. Not dramatic. Just honest. Ethan nodded. He didn't press further. Some stories reveal themselves when they're ready. Others take years. Summer settled heavily across the valley. Grassland stretched beneath endless blue skies. Streams ran lower each week. Wildlife moved closer to ranch property searching for water. That included predators. Coyotes appeared more often. Foxes were spotted near the hills. A few ranchers reported seeing signs of larger animals farther north. Most people paid little attention. Predators had always lived in the mountains. That wasn't unusual. What happened next was. One morning, Ethan prepared to inspect cattle grazing near the northern ridges. The trip wasn't dangerous. At least it wasn't supposed to be. He saddled his horse shortly after sunrise. Several workers were scheduled to join him later. Naya happened to be collecting water from a creek when she noticed something unusual near the muddy bank. She stopped walking. Looked down. Then crouched beside the water. The print was fresh. Large. Far larger than a coyote's. 4 distinct toes. Wide pad. Deep impression. A predator. A serious one. Naya examined the surrounding ground. Another print appeared several feet away. Then another. The trail followed the creek toward the northern hills. Toward the exact area where Ethan was heading. A cold feeling settled in her chest. Because she recognized the tracks immediately. Mountain lion. And judging by their size. A very large one. Naya slowly rose to her feet. The water bucket hung forgotten at her side. Her eyes followed the trail disappearing toward the distant ridges. Somewhere beyond those hills, Ethan Turner was riding alone. And somewhere ahead of him. Something else was moving through the mountains. Something else was moving through the mountains. And Naya knew exactly what it was. She had seen tracks like those before. Not recently. Not clearly. But somewhere in the distant corners of her memory. A place she could no longer fully reach. The mountain lion had passed through the creek only hours earlier. Perhaps less. The edges of the prints remained sharp. No wind had touched them. No rain had softened them. Fresh. Dangerously fresh. Naya grabbed the water bucket and hurried back toward the ranch. The trip normally took 20 minutes. She made it in half that time. Workers were already gathering near the barn. Several horses had been saddled. Others were being prepared. The day promised long hours beneath the summer sun. Naya spotted Cole near the corral gate. "Where's Ethan?" The ranch hand looked surprised. "Already left." The answer tightened the knot in her stomach. "Which trail?" Cole pointed toward the northern hills. "The usual route." Naya nodded. Then immediately started toward the stable. That caught his attention. "What's going on?" She hesitated. "Only briefly. I found tracks." Cole shrugged. "So? Mountain lion." The reaction wasn't what she expected. The man laughed. Not loudly. Just enough. "You're worried about a cat." Several nearby workers smirked. One shook his head. Another returned to tightening a saddle strap. To them, predators were part of frontier life. Coyotes appeared constantly. Bobcats wandered through ranch land every year. The warning didn't sound urgent. Naya tried again. The tracks were large. Cole leaned against a fence post. Everything looks larger when you're scared. The comment drew a few chuckles. Naya felt heat rise in her face. Not anger. Frustration. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She wasn't trying to start a panic. She simply knew what she had seen. The problem was simple. Nobody else had. Eventually she stopped arguing. Experience had taught her something important. Some people only believe danger after it arrives. Naya turned toward the stable. A gray mare lifted its head as she entered. The horse belonged to nobody in particular. Older. Reliable. Steady. Perfect for rough country. Within minutes she had saddled the animal. A stable hand watched curiously. Going somewhere? North. The answer earned a raised eyebrow. Why? Naya adjusted the cinch. Because Ethan is alone. The stable hand opened his mouth. Then closed it again. Something in her expression convinced him not to argue. The ride began beneath a cloudless sky. Grasslands rolled endlessly toward the foothills. The ranch disappeared behind her. Soon the terrain changed. Gentle slopes gave way to rocky ground. Tall pines replaced open pasture. The air grew cooler. More shaded. More secluded. Naya followed the route Ethan normally used when checking cattle. The trail wasn't difficult to track. Fresh hoofprints marked the ground. Several belonged to Ethan's horse. Others came from cattle. Everything appeared normal. At first. Then she found something else. A deer carcass hidden beneath brush. Partially covered. Partially eaten. Naya dismounted immediately. Her pulse quickened. Mountain lions often return to unfinished kills. That was their habit. They fed. Left. Then came back later. The sight confirmed her fears. The predator wasn't passing through. It was hunting nearby. Very nearby. Naya climbed back into the saddle and continued. The farther north she traveled, the stronger her instincts became. Birdsong had grown scarce. The woods felt different. Still. Watchful. Even the wind seemed reluctant to move through the trees. People who spend enough time outdoors learn to notice such things. The land speaks. Not with words. With absence. A missing sound. A broken branch. A silence that doesn't belong. Naya noticed all of it. Hours later, she reached a high ridge overlooking a narrow valley. Below, cattle grazed peacefully. Ethan's horse stood near a stream. The ranch owner appeared to be examining a damaged fence line. Relief washed through her. He was safe. At least for now. Naya guided the mare down the slope. The descent took several minutes. Loose stones shifted beneath the horse's hooves. Eventually Ethan noticed her approaching. His surprise was immediate. "What are you doing here?" Naya slid from the saddle. "You left before I could find you." The ranch owner frowned. "Find me about what?" She explained everything. The tracks. The creek. The deer carcass. Every detail. Unlike others at the ranch, Ethan listened. Carefully. Without interruption. When she finished, he glanced toward the surrounding hills. Thoughtful. Not dismissive. That would explain a few things. Naya looked up. What things? The cattle. He pointed toward the valley. They've been nervous all morning. The answer didn't make her feel better. Animals often sensed predators before people did. Ethan rested one hand on the saddle horn. "You should head back." Naya didn't move. So should you. A faint smile appeared beneath his beard. The expression lasted only a second. Fair point. Before either could say more, something startled the horses. Both animals lifted their heads simultaneously. Ears forward. Bodies tense. The reaction was instant. And identical. Naya turned. Scanning the tree line. Nothing moved. Nothing obvious. Yet every instinct she possessed screamed the same warning. Something was there. Watching. Waiting. Ethan noticed it too. His hand drifted toward the rifle attached to his saddle. Not panic. Preparation. The valley seemed unusually quiet. The stream continued flowing. Grass moved gently in the breeze. Everything looked normal. Yet normal had disappeared. A shadow slipped between the pines. Gone almost immediately. Easy to miss. Impossible for Naya to ignore. Her eyes locked onto the spot. Then she saw it. A tail. Long, powerful. Vanishing behind a fallen log. Mountain lion. The animal had been closer than either of them realized. Much closer. Ethan followed her gaze. His expression hardened. Now he understood. The predator wasn't roaming the mountains. It was stalking the valley. And judging by its behavior, it had already chosen this territory as its hunting ground. The ranch owner slowly unslung his rifle. Neither spoke. Words felt unnecessary. The danger was finally real. Visible. Undeniable. Then, from somewhere higher up the canyon wall, a loose stone tumbled down the slope. Both horses reacted violently. One reared. The other jerked sideways. And in that split second of distraction, the mountain lion made its move. The mountain lion made its move. A blur of muscle and tawny fur exploded from the trees. Fast. Far faster than either horse. The animal launched itself downhill with terrifying speed. Years of hunting had made it efficient. Silent. Precise. Deadly. Ethan reacted instantly. His rifle came up. But the sudden movement of his horse ruined the shot. The frightened animal lurched sideways again. The ranch owner lost his balance. One boot slipped free from the stirrup. The next second he hit the ground hard. Dust erupted around him. The rifle tumbled several feet away. Naya's heart dropped. The mountain lion changed direction immediately. Predators notice weakness. The fallen man became the easier target. Ethan. Her warning echoed across the valley. The ranch owner rolled toward a cluster of rocks as the animal closed the distance. Only yards separated them now. The mountain lion lowered its head. Its shoulders rippled beneath its coat. Preparing. Measuring. Waiting for the perfect moment. Ethan scrambled toward the rifle. Too far. The weapon might as well have been a mile away. The lion knew it. Naya knew it. There wasn't enough time. The animal sprang. Instinct took over. Naya grabbed the first thing within reach. A coiled rope hanging from her saddle. She swung it high. Then snapped it through the air. The crack echoed sharply across the valley. The sound startled the predator. Its leap shifted slightly. Not enough to stop. Enough to alter its path. Instead of landing directly on Ethan, the animal struck the ground beside him. Claws tore through dirt and stone. The ranch owner rolled clear by inches. Only inches. The mountain lion spun immediately. Now angry. Now focused. Naya continued swinging the rope. Again. Again. Each crack echoed across the hills. The predator's attention shifted. Exactly as she hoped. Yellow eyes locked onto her. Not Ethan. Her. A dangerous success. The lion began advancing. Slowly. Deliberately. Every step carried purpose. Naya's pulse pounded against her ribs. She had no illusions. She wasn't stronger than the animal. She wasn't faster. And she certainly wasn't safer. But she had bought Ethan a few seconds. That was all that mattered. The mountain lion crouched. Muscles tightening. Naya stepped backward. Keeping the rope moving. Keeping herself visible. Most predators preferred easy prey. She needed to appear difficult. Unpredictable. Not worth the risk. The animal paused. Studying her. Evaluating. The way experienced hunters evaluate terrain before making a move. A low growl rolled from its throat. The sound felt deeper than any wolf. More personal. More threatening. Then it lunged. Naya pivoted sideways. The movement wasn't graceful. It didn't need to be. It only needed to work. Claws sliced through the sleeve of her shirt. Fabric tore. A burning line appeared across her upper arm. Pain followed instantly. Sharp. Hot. But not deep. The injury could have been far worse. The momentum carried the lion past her. It landed. Turned. Prepared to attack again. Behind the animal, Ethan finally reached his rifle. He brought it up. Then froze. The angle was wrong. Naya stood too close. One mistake could hit her instead. The ranch owner lowered the barrel slightly. Waiting. Searching for a cleaner shot. The mountain lion advanced once more. Closer now. Its patience was disappearing. The predator had already committed to the confrontation. Naya noticed something nearby. A fallen pine. Half-rotted. Large enough to create a barrier. She moved toward it carefully. The lion followed. Every step mirrored. Every movement watched. The valley seemed smaller with each passing second. Then the animal attacked again. This time Naya dropped behind the fallen trunk. The lion crashed into the wood. Bark exploded into the air. The impact slowed it briefly. Just enough. Ethan. The ranch owner's head snapped up. The opening had arrived. One clear lane. One safe angle. One chance. The rifle thundered. The sound rolled across the mountains. Birds exploded from distant trees. The bullet struck the ground directly in front of the lion. Not the animal itself. The dirt erupted. Stone fragments scattered. The sudden blast accomplished exactly what Ethan intended. Shock. Confusion. Noise. The mountain lion recoiled. Its ears flattened. For the first time since the attack began, uncertainty entered the predator's behavior. The lion backed away. One step. Then another. Neither Naya nor Ethan moved. Both remained still. Neither wanted to provoke another charge. The standoff stretched. Long enough to feel endless. Eventually the animal turned. Not running. Not defeated. Simply deciding the fight no longer offered enough reward. Within seconds it vanished into the pines. The forest swallowed it completely. Only then did either human breathe normally again. Naya leaned against the fallen log. Her knees suddenly felt weak. Adrenaline was fading. Reality was returning. Across the clearing, Ethan lowered the rifle. The ranch owner stared at her. Not speaking. Not moving. Just staring. As though he was trying to understand what had happened. Finally he crossed the distance between them. His eyes dropped to her arm. Blood stained the torn sleeve. The scratch wasn't life-threatening. Still, it looked painful. "You hurt?" Naya glanced down. "A little." The answer almost made him laugh. Almost. A mountain lion had nearly attacked her. She called it, a little. Ethan removed a clean bandana from his pocket. Then carefully wrapped the wound. The gesture felt oddly personal. The ranch owner rarely fussed over anyone. Least of all himself. When he finished, his gaze settled on the silver bracelet around her wrist. The impact of the struggle had pushed the sleeve back. For the first time, Ethan saw the symbols clearly. Not just a glance. Not just a passing look. A proper look. The expression on his face changed. Subtly. But noticeably. Naya caught it immediately. "What is it?" Ethan didn't answer right away. His eyes remained fixed on the bracelet. Recognition lingered there. Old recognition. The kind attached to memory. Finally he looked up. "I've seen that symbol before." Naya blinked. The statement hit harder than expected. Because nobody had ever said those words. Not once. Not in all the years she could remember. The wind moved softly through the valley. Neither spoke for several seconds. Then Ethan glanced toward the distant mountains. Thoughtful. Almost troubled. "I just can't remember where. I've seen that symbol before." The word stayed with Naya long after they left the valley. The ride back to Turner Ranch felt different. Quieter. The mountain lion was gone. The immediate danger had passed. Yet something else had taken its place. A question. One that neither of them could answer. Ethan rode ahead most of the journey. Thoughtful. Distracted. Several times Naya noticed him glance toward the bracelet on her wrist. Not out of curiosity. Out of recognition. The distinction mattered. By the time they reached the ranch, the sun had already begun sinking behind the mountains. Golden light stretched across the pastures. Workers gathered near the corrals. Cole was among the first to spot them. Relief appeared briefly on his face. Though he quickly hid it. Then he noticed the torn sleeve. The dried blood. The exhausted horses. What happened? Ethan dismounted slowly. A mountain lion. The answer silenced everyone. Several workers exchanged looks. The same men who had laughed at Naya's warning now stared at her differently. Not because she demanded respect. Because the evidence stood right in front of them. Cole frowned. "You actually found it?" Naya adjusted the bandage on her arm. Ethan answered before she could. "It found us." Nobody laughed this time. That night, the story spread across the ranch. By morning, nearly everyone knew what had happened in the northern valley. Most versions changed details. Stories often do. But one fact remained constant. Naya had saved Ethan's life. The ranch owner never tried to exaggerate the event. If anything, he described it more simply than it deserved. Yet the truth traveled on its own. Workers who barely spoke to Naya before now nodded when they passed her. A few even thanked her. The attention felt uncomfortable. She preferred work. Work made sense. People were more complicated. 3 days later, Ethan saddled his horse before sunrise. This time he wasn't checking cattle. He was looking for answers. The memory continued bothering him. The bracelet. The symbol. The feeling that he had encountered it somewhere before. He followed an old trail leading toward a trading settlement nearly 30 miles away. The journey took most of the day. By late afternoon, he arrived at a weathered general store sitting beside a dusty wagon road. The owner was an elderly trader named Samuel Crow. For decades, Samuel had traveled throughout the territory. Trading with ranchers. soldiers, miners, and Apache communities. If anyone recognized the symbol, it would be him. The old trader listened patiently while Ethan explained. Then he examined a sketch Ethan had drawn of the bracelet. The reaction came immediately. Samuel's eyes widened. Not dramatically. Just enough. Enough to confirm Ethan's suspicion. You know it. The trader looked up slowly. Where did you find this? Ethan considered the question. Then gave the simplest answer. A girl at my ranch. Samuel remained silent, studying the drawing once more. The room suddenly felt smaller. Finally he set the paper down. I haven't seen that symbol in many years. Ethan leaned forward. What does it mean? The trader exhaled slowly, as though choosing his words with care. It belonged to the family of an Apache chief. The answer landed heavily. Ethan said nothing. Samuel continued. Not just any chief. A pause. One of the most respected leaders in this region. The ranch owner felt a chill run through him. The trader tapped the drawing gently. That bracelet isn't common jewelry. Another pause followed. It identifies family. Outside, wagon wheels rattled along the road. Inside, neither man moved. Ethan thought about Naya. The girl who arrived hungry. The girl who worked for meals. The girl who remembered almost nothing. Suddenly the mystery surrounding her seemed much larger. Could there be others like it? Samuel shook his head. Possibly. Then he looked directly at Ethan. But I doubt it. The trader's voice softened. These were often made for children of important families. The ride home felt longer. Not because of distance. Because Ethan spent every mile thinking. Thinking about Naya. Thinking about the years she had spent believing she belonged nowhere. Thinking about the possibility that someone, somewhere, might still be searching for her. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Naya experienced something she hadn't felt in years. Dreams. Real dreams. Not scattered images. Not disconnected flashes. Something clearer. The first came that night. She saw a river winding through red cliffs. Children ran along the shoreline. Women prepared food near a fire. Someone called her name. A name she couldn't quite hear. Every time she moved closer, the sound drifted away. When she woke, the memory remained. Not complete. But stronger than before. More dreams followed over the next week. A man lifting her onto a horse. Laughter around a campfire. A silver bracelet being fastened around a child's wrist. Each memory ended before revealing enough. Yet together they formed a pattern. A life. A family. A past she had almost forgotten. Then, nearly 3 weeks after the mountain lion attack, something happened. A ranch hand rode in from the southern road just before noon. His horse was covered in sweat. The animal looked exhausted. The rider barely slowed as he entered the yard. Ethan. The ranch owner stepped from the barn. What is it? The ranch hand pointed toward the distant plains. His breathing remained uneven. I saw riders. Several workers glanced up. Travelers weren't unusual. Large groups were. Ethan narrowed his eyes. How many? The ranch hand swallowed. Then answered. Hundreds. The ranch yard grew still. Not silent. Still. The difference mattered. Tools stopped moving. Conversations faded. Every face turned toward the horizon. At first, nothing could be seen. Only open land stretching beneath the afternoon sun. Then someone pointed. A faint line appeared far away. Dust. A lot of dust. The cloud widened steadily, growing larger with every passing minute. Riders. Many riders. Moving in a single direction. Toward Turner Ranch. Naya stepped onto the porch. The wind lifted a strand of dark hair across her face. Something stirred deep within her. Not fear. Not uncertainty. Recognition. The feeling arrived without explanation. As though part of her already knew what the approaching riders meant. Beside her, Ethan watched the horizon. Then glanced at the silver bracelet. The pieces were finally beginning to fit together. And somewhere within that growing wall of dust, the truth was riding toward them. The truth was riding toward them. The cloud of dust continued growing across the plains. Hundreds of riders advanced beneath the afternoon sun. Steady. Organized. Purposeful. Nobody at Turner Ranch returned to work. Not a single person. Every eye remained fixed on the approaching column. Even the horses in the corrals seemed restless. As though they sensed the importance of the moment. Ethan stood near the front gate. Cole and several ranch hands gathered nearby. No one reached for a weapon. The riders showed no sign of hostility. No war cries. No raised rifles. No threats. Only determination. Naya remained on the porch. The strange feeling inside her continued growing stronger. Her pulse quickened. Not from fear. From anticipation. The sensation felt familiar. Like hearing the first notes of a song remembered from childhood. A memory standing just beyond reach. The riders finally reached the outer pasture. Then stopped. The movement happened almost simultaneously. Hundreds of horses settling into silence. Hundreds of riders waiting. A path opened through the center of the formation. Several older men emerged first. Respected elders by the look of them. Then another rider followed. Everything around Naya seemed to narrow. The man sat tall in the saddle despite his age. Gray streaks touched his dark hair. Years had marked his face. Yet nothing about him suggested weakness. His presence carried quiet authority. The kind that never needed to announce itself. When he dismounted, none of the other riders moved ahead of him. Respect followed naturally. The older man took several steps forward. Then stopped. His eyes found Naya immediately. Not Ethan. Not the ranch. Not the gathered workers. Naya. The look on his face held something difficult to describe. Hope. Pain. Relief. All woven together. The ranch yard remained still. No one interrupted. The older man reached beneath his coat. Slowly. Carefully. When his hand emerged, he held a small leather pouch worn smooth by time. He opened it. Then revealed a silver bracelet. A bracelet nearly identical to the one around Naya's wrist. A quiet gasp escaped someone behind Ethan. Naya couldn't look away. The designs matched. The markings matched. Even the craftsmanship matched. The older man's voice finally broke the silence. Low. Steady. Yet touched by emotion. I made this for my daughter. The words struck like lightning. Not because they were loud. Because they felt true. Something shifted inside Naya. A memory surfaced. Not a fragment. Not a dream. A real memory. A little girl sitting beside a fire. A strong pair of hands shaping silver. Patiently. Carefully. A man smiling as he worked. The image flashed through her mind and vanished. Naya took a slow breath. The older man's eyes never left hers. For years he had searched. For years he had followed rumors. For years he had refused to stop believing. Now that search had finally led him here. An elder standing beside him spoke softly. The child disappeared during a trading journey many winters ago. No one interrupted. The elder continued. Many believed she was gone forever. The older man's gaze remained fixed on Naya. But her father never accepted that. Emotion tightened his voice near the final words. The ranch workers exchanged glances. Gradually the pieces began falling into place. The bracelet. The missing memories. The Apache heritage. Everything connected. Naya looked down at the silver band around her wrist. The object she had carried her entire life. The only thing linking her to a forgotten past. Then another memory returned. A river reflecting sunlight. Children laughing nearby. Someone lifting her onto a horse. A familiar voice. A familiar face. The same face standing before her now. Her eyes filled with tears. Not from sadness. From recognition. The older man saw the change immediately. Hope flickered across his expression. A fragile hope. The kind built through years of disappointment. Naya stepped forward. Then another step. The distance between them grew smaller. The world seemed unusually quiet. Even the wind had softened. Finally she stopped directly in front of him. For a moment neither spoke. Words felt too small for what had been lost. Too small for what had been found. Then Naya whispered one word. Father. The older man's eyes closed briefly. As though the sound itself carried healing. When he opened them again, tears glistened there. He embraced her gently. Not as a chief. Not as a leader. As a father. A father who had waited far too long. Many of the ranch hands looked away. Pretending dust had gotten into their eyes. Even Cole cleared his throat and stared toward the mountains. Some moments speak for themselves. This was one of them. Eventually the chief stepped back. One hand remained on Naya's shoulder. As though reassuring himself she was truly there. Then he turned toward Ethan. The two men faced each other. Neither spoke immediately. Both understood what the other represented. One had spent years searching. The other had provided shelter when there was nowhere else to go. The chief walked forward. Then extended his hand. Ethan accepted it. Firmly. Respectfully. You protected my daughter. The words carried weight. Ethan shook his head. She protected me. A faint smile appeared on the chief's face. The answer pleased him. Because it sounded honest. Not polite. Not ceremonial. Honest. Several elders nodded in agreement. They had already heard the story. The mountain lion. The valley. The courage. News travels surprisingly far across the frontier. Especially when it concerns acts of character. The chief looked toward Naya. Then back at Ethan. You gave her work. A pause. You gave her dignity. Ethan considered the statement. Then replied quietly. She earned both. The chief nodded once. Nothing more needed to be said. As evening approached, the riders were welcomed onto the ranch. Food was shared. Stories exchanged. For the first time in years, Naya listened to people describe pieces of her childhood. Names she had forgotten. Places she barely remembered. Moments she thought were lost forever. The empty spaces inside her life slowly began filling. Not all at once. Healing rarely works that way. But enough. Enough to feel whole again. The following morning arrived clear and bright. Preparations began shortly after sunrise. The chief intended to return home before winter arrived. The journey would take time. Horses were saddled. Supplies organized. Riders assembled beyond the pastures. Naya stood beside her horse near the gate. The silver bracelet remained around her wrist. Exactly where it had always been. Only now she understood what it meant. Nearby, Ethan approached carrying a small object wrapped in cloth. Naya looked surprised. "What is it?" The ranch owner handed it to her. Inside rested the rope she had used during the mountain lion attack. The same rope that helped save his life. The same rope that changed everything. A smile touched her face. "You kept this?" Ethan shrugged. "Figured you might want it." For the first time, Naya laughed. A genuine laugh. Light. Warm. Unburdened. She tied the rope behind her saddle. Then looked across the ranch one final time. The corrals. The barn. The bunkhouse. The creek where she carried water. The land where she had arrived hungry and alone. The place where strangers became family. Because family isn't always defined by blood. Sometimes it is defined by kindness. Ethan removed his hat. Naya nodded in return. No dramatic farewell was necessary. Respect said enough. A few moments later, the riders began moving. The long column stretched across the plains. Naya rode beside her father. Together they headed toward the distant mountains. Toward home. Yet as Turner Ranch slowly disappeared behind her, she carried something more valuable than the memories she had recovered. She carried proof that a single act of kindness can alter an entire life. Years earlier, a hungry girl had asked for food in exchange for work. One rancher chose compassion. Nothing more. Nothing less. And because of that choice, a lost daughter eventually found her way home.